During the 2-year cultivation period. Traversing into Luffy, in order to obtain the ultimate power of pure dominance, he sacrificed all his abilities and turned into waste.Raleigh. Why is Luffy different from before? Did I misread him? I thought he was someone who could directly compare to Roger. Red-haired. How could that be? He is definitely a man who inherits the will of D, just like Roger, that's why I took one arm directly years ago. Empress. Luffy. No matter what you are, I will always love you to accompany you. 2 years later. Luffy has cultivated the power of true king color.Duo Flamenco. How could this guy be so terrifying? He's just a little kid, but just looking at me directly with his eyes makes me feel like I've been killed 10 times. Katakuli. Not only can he suppress me, but he even fought evenly with his mother. No, he even suppressed me. Kato. It's unreasonable. How could he make me tremble? Yellow ape. Eternal truth. 5 old stars. Lufei. Pirate King, I'm done. No. I want everything. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001 Route flying through. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New World. On a certain island in the latter half of the Great Voyage. Ding, a crisp sound. A young man quickly opened his eyes. What is the situation? He is not sure what happened. I just felt his headache explode. Ah, 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 ah. He screamed in pain. About a few seconds later. The young man's eyes froze in amazement. I am. Youth Road. Munchie D. Road flying. Pirate King, damn it, I've actually crossed over. The young man scratched his head. Not long ago, he seemed to be celebrating the arrival of the new year with his friends by drinking and exchanging glasses. But for some reason, he felt uncomfortable and gradually passed out. When he woke up again, he suddenly arrived here. This is the world of pirates. I actually dressed like Luffy. He was thinking unbelievably about something. After sorting out the thoughts in my head a little, he instantly understood. This is the time point after the Top War. It hasn't been long since the Top War. This is the training location during Luffy's 2-year period. After understanding the situation, he tried to adapt to his current body and environment. One Piece King. It was his favorite animation from his past life. In the past, he always fantasized about what it would be like to travel to the world of pirates. But at this moment, he has truly traveled to the world of One Piece. It's not just about crossing over. He even became the #1 male lead. Munchie D. Road flying. What a legendary name. After 2 years of training, Lufei challenged the eldest brother of the Don Quixote family, Jiwuhado Flamingo, and defeated him. Afterwards, he killed the Katakuli from the Antes team. And on Ghost Island, he directly defeated one of the 4 emperors, the 100 Beasts Kato, and officially rose to become one of the strongest. At the back, Bullet Island lightly took over General Huang Ape of the Navy headquarters. It can be said that the scenery is boundless. Of course. After all, the #1 male lead, so the future is definitely very explosive. No matter what miracle, there is actually no need to feel unexpected. Luffy is undoubtedly destined to rewrite the world situation. But at this moment, he was confused and direct. Because he turned out to be Luffy. How should he face the future? Rubber. He shouted loudly. I only saw that his arm instantly extended. Bang, with a loud cry. Broken a tree. He nodded, his strength felt decent. But this is what Luffy practiced in his previous life. In the future, if he wants to improve, he must take it to the next level, but that's not something he's good at. I don't understand cultivation. I am an ordinary person. I am a migrant worker. How should I respond? Do I give up? I don't know why. He wants to give up. Because the subsequent events were simply too cruel for him. Before his time traveling, he was just a simple working-class person with no ambition and a simple mentality of satisfying young people. At this moment he travels across the road and flies, waiting for him to complete so many difficult tasks. Hey, he shook his head, indicating helplessness. No, run away, okay. I'll find a relatively clean place and rest well, which is not 100 times better than fighting against the masters in the world. Losing that thing would be fatal. He pondered and murmured. Although Huang Lufei from his past life was invincible, with almost unlimited potential, but he was afraid that it would be difficult to replicate the miracles of his past life. I'm just a loser. I don't risk my life. He could only sigh, thinking that he should have a different life. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Route 002 Flying Run. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After thinking for a moment, Luffy decided to carry out his escape plan. At this moment, Raleigh's absence is the best time to escape. Ha ha ha. Luffy smiled. I'm so stupid. Surprisingly, he disguised himself as a Luffy and ran away. It's really embarrassing for Luffy. But there's no way. I'm not Luffy. I am a loser. I think life is priceless. Therefore, I don't want to practice anymore. You're lucky to slip away. Luffy slightly observed the nearby movement. He nodded, there was indeed no one around. It's reasonable to think about it, after all, Raleigh trusts Luffy very much and won't keep staring at him. It's almost his own cultivation and enlightenment. Raleigh only provided a cultivation instruction at the beginning and made a slight demonstration. After all, Luffy's intelligence is beyond doubt. Raleigh may think it's not necessary to keep teaching hand to hand closely. This precisely provides him with an opportunity at this moment. No one left. Luffy noticed that there was no one on the island. At least, there is not much movement in the nearby area except for a few faint bird calls. Of course. There are many terrifying beasts deep in the forest, which are the targets of Luffy's cultivation. In my past life, those who watched cartoons knew it. Luffy quickly ran to the beach. Damn it, there's no boat. Luffy was very anxious. He was worried that Raleigh might appear at some point and he wouldn't be able to run. By the way, Luffy suddenly thought of something. I can swim, wow. After all, Luffy has such a good physique. Subsequently, he jumped straight into the seawater. Next second. Ah. Luffy shouted loudly and repeatedly. Damn it. I forgot about the Luffy devil fruit restriction. He suddenly remembered that the power of fruits seemed to be a property that repelled seawater. I will drown. Luffy flapped, his body helpless. At this point his entire body was engulfed by seawater. Damn it. I'm really unlucky. I just crossed over and died. Luffy is very regretful. Believing that cowardice killed his young age. Hey, I'll accept my fate. I'm a loser. Even if I fly all the way, it may be garbage. Maybe I drowned and will cross again. Be strong then. Luffy felt comforted in his heart. Suddenly, a figure rushed forward like lightning. Luffy has lost consciousness. He vaguely saw something exploding from a distance before falling into a coma. Subsequently, he was rescued. More than 10 minutes later, Luffy slowly opened his eyes. What caught his eye was an old face. And his face is weathered by various wind and frost. It's not difficult to see that he was undoubtedly a tough and handsome man before. Raleigh. Luffy slowly spoke up. Yes. That man is not anyone else. It is the second in command of the Pirate King, the Underworld King Raleigh. Cough 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 cough. When Luffy spoke, the uncontrollable seawater sprayed out and grabbed his throat. Raleigh frowned slightly and said. Luffy, what are you doing? Why do you go to the sea as a fruit expert? Do you want to die? Luffy wants to say he wants to run away directly. But he didn't say that. Because, at this moment, Raleigh won't believe such a thing. I wouldn't even think that Luffy was crossed. Luffy rowed. Senior Raleigh. I just want to catch a fish to eat. The result. My foot slipped and fell directly into the sea. Luffy's words were incredibly forceful. Raleigh was speechless to the extreme. He said. Luffy, ah. You're such a supernova, how could you do such a foolish thing? But on second thought, he thought it might be because Luffy had been practicing too hard recently. Additionally, Ace's death dealt a huge blow to Luffy. Therefore, it caused Luffy to be restless. Only then did he fall into the seawater. Everything will pass. Raleigh comforted and said. Luffy didn't say anything, just got up slowly. Suddenly, Luffy asked. Senior Raleigh. Assuming. I'm talking about assumptions. Raleigh nodded, indicating that please speak. Luffy rowed. If I were just a useless person. Would you be disappointed? One sentence. Clear and distinct. Clean and tidy. Sharp and smooth. Raleigh was confused. Raleigh didn't understand why Luffy said that. Scrap wood. Are you joking? Raleigh rowed. Assuming you're a useless person. So. I am also a useless person. There may not be many outstanding people in this world anymore. Ha ha ha. Raleigh smiled. He thinks Luffy is just joking or venting his emotions. Subsequently, Raleigh rowed. Luffy, ah. I understand your feelings very well. Ace is a good person. I am equally sad. But. People must look forward. Raleigh's words are extremely sincere. Luffy wants to cry. But he didn't. After some contemplation. Luffy rowed. Senior Raleigh. I want to be quiet alone, okay? Raleigh nodded and slowly turned around to leave. Luffy just had no choice but to support Raleigh. After all, what he said to Raleigh was meaningless. In Raleigh's view, Luffy has a natural talent for dominating people. He will undoubtedly be the one who takes over the Pirate King in the future. Or rather, Luffy is even more terrifying and astonishing than Roger before, capable of fulfilling dreams that even Roger could not achieve. I don't know why. Luffy was extremely sad. He believes that at this moment, he will cause immense distress to many people in the world who have high expectations for him, and will disappoint them as never before. Hey, Luffy shook his head, but there was nothing he could do. Running is not advisable. Raleigh has been observing nearby. Or rather. Raleigh is just protecting him. But no matter what. It's almost impossible for him to run away. But, if you persist in cultivation. He is not qualified again. He is not Luffy. He is just a knockoff. Luffy. Luffy murmured to himself. Is your soul there? Can you help me cultivate instead of me? After speaking, Luffy felt incredibly foolish. If Luffy were there, how could he possibly cross over and become him? Isn't that a paradox? I'm such a fool. Luffy shook his head. But, suddenly. Ding, a crisp sound. Subsequently, a voice passed through Luffy's mind. Congratulations on binding the domineering cultivation system, property panel. Name. Munchi D.Lufei. Gender. Male. Age. 17 years old. Ability. Seeing, hearing, and being domineering. Armed and domineering. Overlord and domineering. Fruit. Nika, unawakened, Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 003 System Cultivation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding, please select the template you need to cultivate. The system can have 3 templates: see and hear the color domineering cultivation template. It can quickly enhance your aura and aura. Armed color domineering cultivation template. Can quickly enhance your armed color dominance. Overlord color and domineering cultivation template. It can quickly enhance your domineering color and aura. Lufei was bewildered. The last second, he was still thinking about how to run away. The next second, what kind of system will start directly? It's simply amazing. Luffy noticed that his thoughts could communicate the properties of that system. Only see. Luffy's mind twitched slightly. Ding, if the cultivation template for seeing and hearing color dominance is activated, you can quickly enhance your seeing and hearing color dominance by constantly perceiving various dangers during battles. For example, dodging a suddenly exploding blade. Lufei asked the system about the cultivation form of seeing and hearing color dominance. That's why the system gave a prompt. Luffy nodded, indicating that the system was working well. But he doesn't feel right. Seeing and hearing that the cultivation of color dominance actually requires practical combat. I'm not suitable. After all, I'm not Luffy, I'm just a simple loser. I want to find someone who can easily cultivate. As Luffy spoke, his thoughts kept asking. He wants to see other templates for cultivation. Ding, the armed color dominance training template can be activated through brutal practical exercises to continuously refine the body's defense, agility, speed, attack and other moves, thereby quickly enhancing the armed color dominance. Luffy shook his head. I think it's impossible. He doesn't want to engage in actual combat. He sighed. Believing that a loser may not be easy to get by in any world, it is almost impossible to escape from the bloody battles in a world like One Piece. Only the dominant color is left. Luffy felt a bit lucky and used his mind to inquire about the system's domineering and domineering cultivation form. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 004 Fruit not lost. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding, after opening the Overlord Color Dominance Cultivation template, you can quickly enhance your Overlord Color Dominance by comprehending life. Luffy was completely bewildered. Understanding life. What does that mean? He really doesn't understand. After all, the understanding of that word is really broad. Ding, the meaning of life is that you can do anything, because the system believes that the domineering color and aura are actually a kind of king's aura that can dominate everything. What kings do is understand the world. Therefore, by realizing the details of every aspect of life, one can complete the cultivation of domineering color and aura. One sentence. Luffy instantly understood. Really, according to the attribute settings of the One Piece world, the domineering color is considered an invincible attribute. Of course. Luffy believes that the application of the system's dominant color will take it to the next level. Luffy nodded. Direct mind movement. Luffy decided to activate the Overlord color template. Subsequently, ding, with a loud cry. Congratulations on successfully launching the domineering color template. Reminder. Once confirmed, the startup cannot be modified. Are you sure you want to enable it? Luffy nodded. There's nothing to say. It is almost impossible for him to think and do nothing in this world. I believe no one in the world knows what the Pirate King is. Besides, he is Luffy. That means he will have to face many bad things in the world in the future. It is impossible to avoid it. Earlier, Luffy fantasized about escaping. But deep down, it is clear that it is almost impossible to stay out of it. At this moment after the system helped, Luffy gained some courage. I can only grit my head and go ahead. I confirm. Luffy wrote. Subsequently, ding, congratulations on activating the Overlord color template, Overlord color attribute value. 20/100. Luffy was dumbfounded. What is the situation? Is my domineering value so low? Luffy understood very well that the current value of the dominant color was actually cultivated by Luffy in his previous life. The meaning is to say that Luffy is the number after awakening during the war. It's only 20 o'clock. It's really unattractive. Ding, congratulations on having a choice at this moment. You can choose to directly convert all other attributes to the dominant color attribute value. Luffy was momentarily confused. He felt that the number of times he was confused today was comparable to the sum of several decades. But anyway, Luffy is in a good mood. How much can I convert? Can you take a look? If it's less, forget it. Lufei asked and said. Ding, the system has calculated that by converting all the unexpected attribute values of its dominant color, you can ultimately increase the attribute value of its dominant color to 50. Luffy was extremely surprised. He said. What? 50 ah. After a moment of contemplation, he thought that if the full value was 100, he could directly convert it and increase it to half 50. And also, he calculated the power of the dominant color slightly. If the previous Luffy King color had a value of 20. So, the dominant color after 50 is absolutely explosive. After all, he understood that when Luffy went to war, he only awakened his domineering aura and directly knocked out 100,000 young soldiers. Although the comparison of enemies in the 2-year New World era may not be significant. But it's still terrifying. If it can reach 50, it will definitely be even more explosive. Ha ha ha. Thinking about it, Luffy laughed heartily. Then he quickly said. I convert. I convert. I can't cultivate other attributes after all. I am a loser. I'm a lazy person. I need to be strong enough to face those New World rivals in the subsequent plot. Although my other abilities are fine now. But 2 years later, the opponents in the New World will have terrifying levels, so I can only gamble. Luffy is very wise. In fact, what he knows better in his heart is, even if he doesn't give up his power beyond the dominance, in fact, he won't play a crucial role in the New World enemies 2 years from now. And if he were to make a desperate effort to cultivate his domineering nature, it would be his only way out. Perhaps a miracle would happen. Of course. Luffy is not sure what the final effect of the Overlord color will be. He is just a simple gamble. After all, he has no other choice. I really can't run away. Lufei believes that after practicing the domineering color, he should have some more confidence in running away no matter how trash he tries. He did not completely abandon the idea of avoiding. Just take it slowly according to the situation. In short anyway. At this moment, Lufei's cultivation level should only be able to take the path of dominance. Ding, congratulations on successfully converting attributes Overlord color 50/100. Luffy laughed heartily. I think there's nothing wrong. Suddenly, Lu Yao's eyes widened. The expression was extremely painful. It's like eating shit. Damn it. Luffy roared. His mother forgot. I'm Nika. How could I ignore the power of Luffy's fruit? And Luffy Nika is not just a simple bully. He is the key to opening up the situation in the future. This question, I believe even a pirate fan understands. Lufei is an old pirate who has lost his understanding. He just somehow forgot. Before, Luffy was always thinking about how to become powerful and how to quickly cultivate the power of the dominant color. As a result, he forgot about his Nika fruit. Big deal. Cha. 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 Luffy cursed incoherently on the street. I'm really stupid. Lufei shook his head and felt immense pain. A large treasure was directly discarded by him. It's simply a tragedy. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 005 is still present. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's Nika. There is no doubt what that means. Result: Luffy is foolish. He felt his intelligence being crushed. What's wrong with me? I was stupid just now. My heart is focused on transforming into a dominant color. Forget about Nika. Ha ha ha. Lufei laughed bitterly. He thinks he should be the dumbest in the world. Hey, subsequently, Luffy shook his head, indicating helplessness. Everything has happened, so doing anything is meaningless. We can only move forward. Move forward and don't turn back. Lufei took a deep breath and said lightly. Suddenly, his attention slowly shifted to the feeling of dominance. He only felt that the world seemed to have turned upside down at this moment. That feeling. Language cannot be spoken. That's all in silence. Ah. Luffy felt incredibly agile in his body. Under his observation, everything in the world seemed to quietly change. What does that feel like? It seems that everything has changed. Luffy murmured. He picked up a hard stone casually. In the past. In Luffy's eyes, a stone may just be a simple stone. But I don't know why. At this moment, Luffy suddenly felt that the stone was not a stone, but a lifelong life form. Yes. That's not an exaggeration. In fact, Luffy had already realized that everything in this world is spiritual and has life. Everything has a spirit. This statement is correct. Luffy felt the stone. He gently picked up the stone. And put the Luffy sticker on his face. Squeak, squeak, squeak. There was a faint sound calling. It is emitted from stones. Of course. Luffy couldn't distinguish anything from inside. But previously, it was absolutely difficult for Luffy to hear similar sounds. Listen to all things. Luffy believes it may be a similar ability. In his previous anime, he believed that it would take 2 years for Luffy to possess similar abilities. At that time, his dominant color value was far more than 50. But at this moment, the 50-point value of Luffy can vaguely capture a feeling of listening to everything. And 2 years later, Luffy listened to everything and did not clarify whether it was due to his domineering nature or some other ability. In short anyway. At this moment, Luffy has similar abilities. That feeling is simply indescribable. Luffy analyzed Luffy 2 years later in his past life. He recalled his previous feeling of being domineering and domineering based on his memory. If the value was 20 at that time. So 2 years later, Luffy will be over 80. This is Luffy's inference. Everything is not perfect. But anyway, 2 years from now, it's absolutely impossible for Luffy's dominance to be only 50 points. The meaning is that at this moment, he has the same dominant color value but far surpasses Luffy in his previous life. This is enough to demonstrate that the power of the system is not simple. Maybe the domineering ability bestowed by the system is superior. Pop, the stone has cracked open. It is the result of Luffy's deliberate use of dominance. He noticed that his domineering aura could silently penetrate into the stones and destroy them. This is very surprising. After all, the domineering power of Luffy or others in their past lives is 100% lacking in similar abilities. Terrifying. Terrifying. Luffy nodded, thinking that the system was not simple. System. Lufei asked and said. What's wrong with your domineering demeanor? Why do I feel so much more terrifying than others? Ding, hello. The power bestowed by the system is optimized. A simple sentence explains many situations. Luffy nodded, the system was indeed terrifying. Of course. That's a good thing. After all, who wouldn't want power to be more terrifying? That is beyond doubt. Ha ha ha. Instantly, Luffy burst into laughter. Suddenly. He doesn't feel sad anymore. Fierce. Luffy's eyes widened. Because he wants to use his domineering aura to vaguely observe his physical condition under internal vision. Result, somehow, he sensed something inside the interior. In my body. What seems to exist? Lufei was bewildered. He simply tried to play. I didn't expect to succeed. His domineering power can actually do things that look inward at the body and consciousness. It's simply amazing. That's. Luffy sensed a seemingly hidden power within his body. Fruit Nika. Luffy confirmed that feeling. After all, relying on the feeling of memory, he can clearly feel that breath, which is definitely related to the fruit of Nika. Surprisingly, fruit Nika didn't really disappear. Although I can't use the power of fruit at this moment. But that Nika's breath is still there. It's like turning into a seed. Luffy nodded. It is believed that Nika is closely connected to Luffy invisibly and has not been truly transformed by the system. It is only the surface rubber power that has been transformed, while the internal power is actually still present. Ha ha ha. Instantly, Luffy became even happier. The previous haze has disappeared from within. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 006 is extremely terrifying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luffy believes that time will come. The power of Nika fruit can definitely be unleashed again. Just wait until the timing is ripe. Luffy nodded, indicating that he was very happy. I feel that the domineering aura of the One Piece color has surpassed his previous understanding of the One Piece color. Perhaps the system's ability has completely changed the previous domineering and domineering attributes. That's not an exaggeration. After all, the existence of the system actually indicates many problems. There are miracles everywhere in this world. And Luffy and his system are miracles within miracles. Ha ha ha. Luffy is extremely happy. It's just that, at this moment, his body feels extremely weak. After all, he lost the strength he had before. Of course, compared to a normal person, it is still much more powerful. If I were to fight against $1 million pirate right now. Absolutely not an opponent. Luffy sensed a lack of other powers in his body. But the power of tyranny will directly make him more terrifying. The premise is that he must practice quickly. At this moment, the domineering value is only 50 points. Fear is not enough. Luffy has a slight premonition. In the future, the absolute terror explosion and terrifying power of the upgraded tyrannical color will be infinite and extremely brutal. Suddenly, a little bird came from afar. Luffy realized something. He wants to try what impact the dominant color attribute can have on living creatures. After all, at the beginning, he only did something to the stones. The bird at this moment is a suitable experimental object. Only see. Luffy's mind twitched slightly. His domineering aura instantly dissipated like lightning. The bird was instantly enveloped. Schwa, with a loud cry. Luffy's consciousness took over the soaring birds. What? Luffy didn't even realize in advance that he could do something similar. It feels like a soul possessed. But soon, Luffy felt as if the bird's soul was struggling fiercely, wanting to blow out his domineering thoughts. That's very reasonable. After all, no kind of life actually likes other souls or consciousness to infiltrate. But it can only be said that the consciousness of birds is truly humble. Luffy cannot be excluded in the short term. Ha ha ha. Luffy smiled directly. I think it's incredibly interesting. He felt something similar for the first time. It's simply exhilarating. It's refreshing and crooked. Surprisingly. Luffy's eyes widened. Because he noticed that some of the bird's memories seemed to have been vaguely captured by him. Mountains and rivers. Rivers. Forest. Those scenes flashed through his mind. And also Luffy was well aware that those memories were not actually exclusive to Luffy's mind. But rather some memories of birds. Although those scenes are just simple fragments. But still Luffy felt frightened. This domineering look is simply amazing. Luffy murmured. He believes that if he improves his cultivation level in the future, he must be able to fully read the bird's experiences and memories with his domineering aura. It's simply beyond cognition. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 007 governs all things. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luffy keeps trying. He feels like an infinite treasure. The overwhelming power bestowed by the system is simply indescribable. The feeling of dominance over all things, although currently only a simple prototype, is not difficult to imagine how terrifying it will be in the future. Overlord color. Indeed, it is the energy that governs all things in the world. Luffy nodded in agreement. At this moment the bird was unable to move directly under the control of Luffy. Or rather, Luffy took over all of its actions. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Birds make loud noises. It is struggling hard. It's of no use. Luffy's dominant power intervenes directly. Ha ha ha. Lufei had some inspiration. Stop shouting. Lufei's thoughts are constantly moving. Only see. That bird surprisingly stopped calling. Luffy noticed that he seemed to be able to intervene in many of its behaviors. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Birds chirp incessantly. However, this time it's different. Because this is the result of Luffy's intervention. In other words, at this moment, the bird's call is actually the result of his control. He was able to make birds sing freely. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Birds chirp incessantly. Luffy laughed heartily. Ha ha ha. Refreshingly crooked. I can hardly describe this feeling. Directly governs bird behavior. It's amazing. Luffy spoke incoherently. Suddenly, Luffy tried to intervene in other functions. At this moment a strange scene flashed through Luffy's mind in an instant. He actually saw a guy. That guy is incredibly dirty. My face is covered in mud spots. Various impurities are intertwined on the body. Additionally, that guy's face is incredibly immature and handsome. That's... Lufei was stunned. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something. Ha ha ha. He kept laughing. That guy, me. Luffy sensed the identity of that guy. Yes. That's right. That guy is not someone else. It is Luffy himself. And he saw through the bird's perspective. That feeling is beyond words. Nyo 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 nyo. Lufei exclaimed in surprise. I am simply in an excited mood. How long has it been since I took a shower? It's so dirty. But it's very handsome. Truly Luffy. Munchie D. Road flying. He is the more handsome guy in the world of One Piece. Luffy kept sighing. And also, he suddenly felt like he had crossed Luffy, and Luffy was not a bad thing. Ha ha ha. I think it feels good. Luffy is trying other bird functions. Only see. Birds spread their wings and soar. Heading towards the distant rocks. Luffy noticed that the energy intensity of the bird's soul repulsion had increased significantly. Damn it. Instantly. Luffy was taken out of control by the birds. His domineering power instantly decoupled. Hey, Luffy has some regrets. But overall, there's no problem. One level, his domineering color value is only 50. The control power at all levels is actually relatively early. On another level, after controlling the birds to fly away, the distance had an impact. Luffy believes that the dominant color control must be within a certain distance for better results. At least at present, the power of Luffy's dominant color is not enough to control distant things. Luffy is trying to verify his inference. Attempt to communicate directly with distant objects. A grass was under his domineering control. The grass swayed in the wind. It's only a few tens of meters away from Lufei. Luffy felt the scent of grass. That feeling is fantastic. Luffy nodded. Continuously trying to control from a distance with the dominant color. 50 meters. 60 meters. 70 meters. 80 meters. 90 meters. 100 meters. By the time they reached 100 meters, it was clear that their control had lost its power and effectiveness. We have reached our limit. Luffy nodded, believing that 100 meters was the limit. Of course. If we control animals like birds, 60 meters may already be the limit. After all, the power of exclusion varies among all things. Plants are relatively fragile. Animals are relatively strong. Luffy made more attempts. He controlled only a small deer within a few tens of meters. Ha ha ha. Luffy noticed that the deer's consciousness was significantly more complex than the birds in front. But after unremitting efforts, Lufei still managed to win. A great experience. Luffy constantly feels its breath. And try to make it run and jump. It's a bit more difficult. It's truly a mammal. And Luffy shook his head and said, at 70 meters, I obviously couldn't control it better. Instantly. The deer is out of control. But Luffy is not discouraged. In fact, the power of this domineering color satisfied him. Lufei believes that in the future, one should practice well. It will inevitably rise. It is bound to explode. It will definitely be amazing. There's nothing to say. Bomb, with a loud cry. Luffy was attracted by the sound. He looked over. A large ferocious beast quietly approached him at some point. It's broken. Luffy was shocked and turned pale. That ferocious beast has a body size of several tens of meters. He is undoubtedly a difficult guy to deal with. Damn it. My strength has already disappeared. It's impossible to be his opponent. Luffy sensed the pitiful energy in his body. We must run away now. Luffy wants to escape. Unfortunately. At some point, a fierce beast of the same size appeared on the other side of him. Damn it. Luffy was instantly dumbfounded. Two ferocious beasts have already evolved into spiritual intelligence. Although compared directly to adult humans, it is not worth mentioning. But anyway, they understand how to cooperate. Otherwise, how could we have started working together at the same time? Not far away. The underworld king Raleigh opened his eyes. He was resting before being alarmed at this moment. Only see. Raleigh's mouth slightly curled up. Lufei, yo. He said. These two guys are ferocious beasts close to the Sea King class. Let me see how effective your cultivation is. Raleigh understood very well that Luffy's ability to deal with the two Sea King ferocious beasts was actually nothing. After all, previously, Luffy had already defeated two famous pirates with the title of Seven Martial Seas. In addition, it performed quite well during the war. Raleigh just wants to see how much his overall strength has improved compared to before by battling two fierce beasts. And Luffy. But he was simply foolish. Done. Two big guys. Luffy rode. If it were the previous Luffy, it would definitely hit hard. Feel free to use third gear and solve it directly. But I can't do it right now. Please spare me. Luffy wants to spare his life. Unfortunately, the two big guys didn't buy it. Their eyes were filled with fierce emotions. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 008 Deterrence Capability. You are listening at novel full.audio. Two big guys clearly understand the coordination. The two of them slowly moved their steps. Directly sealed off the possible escape routes of Luffy. Absolutely despicable. Luffy's disdainful way. But helpless. Only see. The eyes of the two guys were filled with killing intent, and they probably had the idea of killing Luffy. Luffy noticed that a guy's tongue was spitting out, and the saliva on it looked disgusting. Ow, Luffy is nauseous. Even he could smell a foul odor inside. It's time for you to brush your teeth. Lufei angrily cursed and said. And Luffy tried to use his domineering aura to influence the consciousness of the two ferocious beasts. After more than 10 seconds, Luffy shook his head and said. Failed. These two guys are absolutely terrifying. Almost comparable to the existence of Sea Kings. Their consciousness is particularly enormous. I can't simply intervene with the dominant color. Say it. Luffy threw his legs and wanted to run. Bang, with a loud cry. A large head fiercely blocked in front of him. Hey. Luffy sighed helplessly. It's impossible to want to run. Am I still dead? Luffy didn't understand why he just crossed over but directly faced the threat of death. Hello, Lufei shouted loudly. Can you two eat me separately? Give me a happy one. I'm afraid of pain. Unfortunately, the eyes of the ferocious beast fully demonstrate that the result was simply and cruelly eaten. Roar, the ferocious beast has taken action. The two of them are preparing to surround and kill. Damn it. Luffy was extremely helpless. He thought to himself why Raleigh didn't make it. With that guy's perceptual ability, it's impossible not to notice. After all, at the front, Luffy almost drowned. Raleigh arrived directly and in time. At this moment, there is nothing moving. Far away, Raleigh expressed confusion. He said. Why doesn't Luffy take action to solve them? Maybe even killing Raleigh would never know. In fact, Luffy has already lost its strength. At this point Lufei realized something. By the way. Luffy murmured. I'm his mother stupid. The most fundamental ability contained in the power of Overlord should be deterrence. My control over all things is given by the system. I almost forgot the most basic attribute of Overlord color. Lufei finally remembered. The power of domineering color to deter. Any move that can be used by the owner of any dominant color. Or rather. The dominant colors in this world are a universal power that can be used. At first, people even believed that the use of dominant colors could only be done that way. Later on, people realized that they could use the dominant color to wrap and attack opponents. But anyway. At this moment, the power of the Luffy system can directly use the dominant color to dominate everything. This made him forget his basic attributes. Ha ha ha. Luffy laughed heartily. And cover your head with your hands. I'm such a fool. I have forgotten all those simple abilities. Hey, Luffy understands very well that two big guys are nothing. After all, 2 years ago, the Luffy Overlord realm with a value of only 20 could instantly stun 100,000 minions. At this moment, the dominant power with a value of 50 can definitely make two ferocious beasts surrender obediently. Subsequently, Miso, Luffy used his domineering power. The terrifying aura instantly enveloped the ferocious beast. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 009 Direct Dizziness. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Boom boom, a huge wave of air is invisibly impacting. Those two big guys suddenly felt stunned. Their eyes emitted a hazy color. Luffy understood very well that his domineering power had taken effect. Sure enough, the next moment. Two big guys foaming directly at the mouth. And roll up your eyes. Bang, with a loud cry. The relatively weaker one, everyone, falls to the ground first. Bang, very soon. The other one stumbled along. In an instant. Luffy knocked both of them unconscious. Ha ha ha. Luffy laughed heartily. I feel so refreshed. That feeling is difficult for him to express. But anyway. That kind of instant dizzying pleasure for the two big guys. It's really exhilarating. Raleigh's eyes widened. Because he felt the power of dominance. Although this place is quite far away. But Raleigh still felt it. One level, the power of Luffy's domineering color is truly terrifying. On another level, many people are aware of what the underworld king Raleigh is. Under his deliberate perception, he couldn't possibly not feel the level of dominance and domineering aura. Luffy, I didn't read it wrong. Raleigh nodded, expressing immense satisfaction. At the end of the recent war. The power of Luffy's domineering color is far less terrifying than it is at this moment. This is just a short period of cultivation. The power realm of Luffy's domineering color has been increased several times. Yes. Several times. From 20 to 50, although not many times. But Luffy's system power endows the Overlord color with exceptional attributes and power. Therefore, Raleigh felt that the power of Luffy's dominant color was simply beyond his imagination. Luffy. Moving towards the peak. Raleigh was filled with excitement. He felt a direct surge of emotion. Invisible. It seems that he has seen a distant past. Roger. Raleigh murmured. He felt the power of his old friend years ago from Luffy. Or. Don't exaggerate. Luffy's power may be even more terrifying than Roger's. Raleigh feels happy. Luffy clapped his hands and stared at the two big guys. They shouldn't be able to wake up for a while. Did you eat it? Luffy somehow wanted to eat them. I'm very strange. Luffy rode. He is very puzzled. Because, after all, he doesn't like to eat meat from big guys. He is not Luffy. He is not the same guy as before. But I don't know why. Luffy wants to eat at this moment. Maybe because the body is the same guy as before. After all, he's just a soul traveler. Therefore, to a certain extent, it inherits the personality and hobbies of the previous Luffy. Luffy drooled. Although his strength cannot compare to before. But kill two ferocious beasts that have already fainted. There shouldn't be any problem. Only see. Luffy took out a firewood knife directly. That firewood knife was left here a while ago when the Empress helped cook. It is worth mentioning that the Empress would occasionally help cook meals for Luffy. Can be considered taking care of Luffy. According to the scene in Luffy's memory, Lufei realized that the Empress was a peerless beauty. Of course, he must personally see the possibility in order to truly appreciate the unparalleled charm of the beautiful woman. The image in the mind is just a simple fragment. Click. Luffy cuts large chunks of meat. I feel like life is full of skin. Ah. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 010 Direct Foodie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha! How could I be so skilled in my techniques? Luffy was puzzled. But I quickly understood. Because that could be a memory from a past life. After all, physical memory is often difficult to change. At this moment, Luffy's skillful movements directly and clearly explained everything. Ha ha ha. Luffy laughed heartily. Quickly, he cut the 2 large pieces into hundreds of pieces. He was sweating profusely. My physical strength is running low. If it were a previous life's Luffy, there would definitely be no problem. Luffy shook his head and said. Anyway. Compared to Luffy in his previous life, he is indeed a bit weak. But there's no way. That is a helpless choice. After all, the power of the system lies there. Luffy must abandon other attributes in order to cultivate faster. Not long after, Luffy started a fire and grilled meat. The feeling of pleasure, not to mention how leisurely it is. This is what I want in life. Unfortunately, I can't keep being naughty like this moment. Many times, I am a helpless teenager. Luffy's artistic style is simply beyond words. He's just pushing around there. He is babbling aimlessly there. But life won't change anything because of coercion and nagging. After a period of time, the meat is cooked. A delicious aroma spread throughout the vicinity. What? Even Raleigh was moved. That barbecue flavor is simply amazing. Unable to describe. Raleigh dares to say he has never heard of it in his life. This is Raleigh Road. Did Luffy bake it? Raleigh is unbelievable. I can't believe it. Luffy, that little ghost, he actually knows this. It wasn't displayed before. To be honest, Raleigh's mouth is watering. But after all, he is too old to go directly to get it. Humph. Raleigh smiled. With Luffy's personality, I'm sure he'll come find me to eat. He is a good child. Say it. Raleigh remained silent. But sitting quietly on the coast. And slowly wait for being called to eat meat. It would be great if there could be some cumin. Cumin powder is the best seasoning in the world. No. It's in that world. Luffy shook his head in regret. To be honest, he used to be a good barbecue chef. As a loser, Lufei has almost experienced any job. Especially barbecue. He put a lot of effort into that. And barbecue talent is good. The taste is not bad. Luffy ate the meat and was extremely satisfied. Very soon, Luffy noticed. He has such a big appetite. He unknowingly ate a lot. Invisible. Half of the meat pieces were taken care of by him. What? Luffy was extremely surprised. I don't believe it. How can I eat so much? It's absolutely fake. Luffy thinks it's like a dream. He felt like he had only eaten a few pieces. But upon closer inspection, it's mostly gone. I'm his mother. Luffy is speechless. He noticed that the meat on his hand was being stuffed into his mouth in seconds. His belly is almost bursting. But if he doesn't take it seriously, he hardly feels anything. I'm such a foodie. Luffy was completely bewildered. Ha ha ha. But then he laughed. It should have the attributes of a previous life's Luffy foodie. But I'm not a rubber man anymore. How can I digest a massive amount of food? Luffy doesn't understand. After all, the rubber properties are gone. But why does it still digest quickly? Luffy quickly looked inside. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.